So in human design, the sun gates get a lot of attention, and that's for good reason because the conscious sun, also known as the personality sun in your chart, is going to represent 70% of the energetic impact and imprinting that is your energetic being. However, here's the thing. I think that we really overlook another crucial part of the human design chart, especially when it comes to the gates and channels, and those are the earth gates. So if you don't know what the earth gates are, let's say that you're new to human design or new to looking at the body graph, if you look on the left and right, you'll see that there's a column in black and there's a column in red. So on either side, so in either of those columns, your earth gate is going to be the one that is second from the top. So it's going to be the number that is second from the top. So if you look at my chart here, you'll see that in black, for me, that would be 42. And then in red, that would be 60. So the one that's in black is going to be known as your conscious or personality earth. And then the one in red will be known as your design or unconscious earth. So why is the earth gate important? Well, again, when we're looking at playing out your purpose in particular in human design, the sun gate, in particular, your conscious sun gate, will get a lot of attention, get a lot of airtime when people are talking about what you're here to do because it is your core life theme. However, what's interesting about the sun gate, and on both sides, including your unconscious sun gate, is that that is here to just radiate out of you no matter what. That is your vitality. That's what shines out of you. And that can happen at a high or low expression, just like any of the gates in your chart. But the thing is, in order to access the gift of that at the highest expression, it is crucial that you are owning and embracing and embodying the energies of your earth gates. Because the way it works is that sun gates and earth gates are quite similar to how the South Node and North Node work in astrology and in human design too, in that they are inexorably tied to one another. Because really, when you're looking at the theme of your sun gate, you're only looking at one part of a greater theme that you're going to be playing out that's along this axis. Like it's the theme of the axis that your sun gate is on. And here's what I mean by that. When you look at what's called the Rave Mandala, which is basically the body graph that you see in your normal chart, and then behind it, there's this giant wheel, and that's the essentially the astrological calendar for human design. We also add the gates of the I Ching on top of that, so it's a little bit different. But when you look at that, you'll see that your sun gate is always going to be directly across, like so 180 degrees away from your earth gate. So they live on the same axis. And what we can pull from that, and basically the reason for that, is that both of these themes are part of a greater theme. They are just different expressions of it. In fact, one of them is going to be a yang expression and one of them is going to be a yin expression. So they together create the whole theme itself. So when you look at your sun gate and then you look at your earth gate on either side of your chart here, personality or design, when you do that, you'll see that the earth gate is actually, it seems like it may be the opposite of what your sun gate is. However, it's not really. It's more like it's the other side of the same coin. And when you think about a coin can't exist. You can't pay someone with a coin. You can't put it in a parking meter to pay for your car unless it has two sides, or else the coin doesn't even exist. And then you're going to get a ticket, at least if you live where I live. But so these two things, like they're tied, they're partners, basically. In Gene Keys, we call these programming partners. So what does this really mean when it comes to your earth gates, and why is this important for you to know? It's because your earth gates are what are known as what ground you, what stabilize you, and what provide you with the foundation and platform for your sun gate to shine from, basically. So if you do not, I don't want to say work with your earth gate, but if you do not like embrace and learn to heal, and I guess, okay, work with, yeah, your earth gates, then you're building the energy of your sun gate on shaky ground. So sometimes people will look at their sun gate and be like, I don't feel like I express this, or I definitely don't feel like I express this at the highest version. What can I do about that? Well, in human design, we say follow your strategy and authority like a broken record. That's what you tell it over and over again because it's true. It's really helpful. It's the answer to most questions in human design. But the other thing that you can do is you can really look at the theme and energy of your Earth gate and ask yourself, am I truly embracing that? Is that something I'm actually doing? Because if you're really, more often than not, when someone is struggling with the expression of their sun gate, they're also struggling with the Earth gate. So I'll give you an example from my chart. You'll see that my sun is in gate 32, which is the gate of continuity or duration. And then my Earth gate is in the gate of growth, 42. So what's interesting about these two gates is that, they belong to sister signs. That's always how it's going to be when you look at your sun and earth gate. So I'm a Libra sun, which means that gate 32 is in Libra, and then the earth is in 42, which is an Aries gate. So they do seem like diametrically opposed there in some ways because Aries and Libra are so different. Libra is about coming together with the other, and Aries is about splitting apart and being the individual. However, they both tie into this same theme of timing and trusting timing, and also knowing when it's time to end something and then kind of adapt and change towards the next thing. So, gate 42, known as growth, is interestingly enough actually about endings. But the idea is that you are good at identifying when something is coming to a close. You know when it's time to wrap up loose ends. You know how to do that. You're a good person to come in and wrap up loose ends in order to make space for the next era, make space for the next cycle into which you will grow or the next cycle of growth. So that's great, but the shadow of this is the shadow of attachment and sort of expectation. Richard Rudd from Gene Keys says that in the shadow here, people really get stuck at expectation station and they don't really let life kind of be what it is now. And through holding on too tightly, like they're never happy because if you have such tight expectations of what life should be like, then you're going to constantly be disappointed when it doesn't line up with that. So the gift here, though, is intention. So when you can lean into that gift of like, this is where I intend to go with this energy, because an intention is an important thing. But when you can make it more about like, I intend to go in this direction, but I do have detachment about the outcome. So I'm going to go into this, right, with the best of intentions, but how it ends up is how it ends up, then you set yourself up to follow the cycles of life in a way that is really going to serve you. And this is really important for me to understand and is also something I have not understood for a very long time. Detachment is probably one of the hardest things for me to understand. I'm still learning how to do it. I've definitely spent most of my life in the shadow of attachment. But when I can lean into that gift of intention, which I'm learning to do more and more every day, I set myself up to live in the gift of gate 32, which is important because the gift of gate 32 is an instinct for knowing what will and won't work and where it is worthwhile to put our energy for long-term growth and sustainability and benefit, basically. So gate 32 historically has been like, where do we put our time, energy, resources, whatever, so that we can have this long-term result? Like it's interested in what will endure. That's why it's sometimes called endurance. I think in the I Ching, that's the name for it. But on the other hand, the shadow of gate 32 is the shadow of failure or the fear of failure. However, if I'm owning gate 42, which is about intention over attachment, then there is no failure. I don't get stuck in that fear of failure with gate 32 because it's like, well, no, I can see that maybe it's not about what I thought it should be like. It's about like where I am supposed to be right now. And I'll tell you that this has been incredibly helpful to me. This is just an example from my own life because the fear of failure has held me back from living my life and even doing things that I've wanted to do for a really long time. But when you can embrace that it's all about the experience and that you are at the right place, and failure is just it's a mirage. It's a concept that, some people might not even agree exists in reality, then I can actually use my intuition in a way that's not blocked by fear. So I will actually tune in to the things that will create sustainable growth and will help me long term and will last and will be worthwhile for me to create because I've let go of that attachment to everything working out exactly as I thought it was supposed to. So instead, I can trust my intuition when it's saying, ooh, like I think we should go this way because I think this is going to work. Or I can trust my intuition when it says, people are telling me that I should do this because it looks like a good idea, but I just get this feeling it's not going to work. I can listen to that instead of being like succumbing to this fear of like, I don't know, is it going to fail? And then never taking any action at all or going in a certain direction because I think it'll, protect me from failure, but really it doesn't get me anywhere. It doesn't benefit anyone. So, in short, long story short, too late, your earth gates are really what set you up to succeed with your sun gate. That's talking about the personality or conscious sun and earth combo. If you look on the other side of your chart, when we're looking at the design slash unconscious part of your chart, something interesting to know is that the personality and conscious side really represents what we'd say is more your mind. It's what you have access to on a daily basis from your own perspective. So you see it, this is what you see yourself as. However, when it comes to the design slash unconscious side of your chart, so all the stuff in red, this is really more about your quote unquote vehicle. So when I say that, I mean it's about your body. It's about what your body needs. It's about what your body will be drawn towards, oftentimes unconsciously to you. You won't have as much access to that as your body will. These are the parts of you that like draw you towards something. You're like, I don't know why I just end up here again. Like, I don't know why I feel like I need this, or this is something that I need to feel supported or nourished, but I just do. And so when we look at the sun earth combo there, your unconscious sun has a lot to do with your health. It's called your radiance in Gene Keys. And so this is what Richard Rudd says, this is what keeps you healthy. And so your unconscious earth is called your purpose. And it is basically like what happens when you just kind of like live as yourself. Like this is just you being you. But you need to embrace that in order to tap into the gifts of your unconscious sun. So if you want your radiance to really be radiant, if you want to be healthy, it's important to embrace whatever gate you have in your unconscious earth. Otherwise, it's going to be easy to get trapped in the shadow of your unconscious sun rather than tapping into those higher level gifts. So if we look at my unconscious earth, for example, I have that in gate 60, which is the gate of limitation. It's all about limits. And that sounds bad, but actually gate 60 does not like limits. It does not like blocks. It does not like obstacles. And it is in some way here to blast through those to make some kind of innovative change. Especially if you have the full 360 channel like I do, then you're going to be somebody who's driven to do that like your entire life. You will be drawn to like all these new things that will help you blast through these old structures and create something different. However, Gate 60 is also very aware of the fact that it's not always the right time to do that. The right time to do that is when you have an opening, when you have this feeling from your body, like it's go time. I'm motivated. I feel the push from my body to do this. But until then, it's like it's not time, right? And it's actually probably going to be a waste of your energy and resources if you try to push against this structure or these circumstances when you might not even need to. Like the time that you need to do it is when you feel ready to do it and you feel like the need to do it. And that's really important to know because when someone with gate 60 can do that, then, oh my gosh, they can look like bulldozers breaking through things. On the other hand, in the shadow of gate 60, that's where you find this feeling of actually being very limited because it's when you try to fight against this stuff when it's not time, just because you think you should be moving forward and you're like, I shouldn't be limited at all, that you will feel very limited. So for me, when I have felt very limited with gate 60 as my unconscious earth, then when it comes to my unconscious sun, which is in gate 56, which is the gate of stimulation, I tend to fall into the shadow of that, which is the shadow of distraction. So instead of finding things that are enriching and stimulating and really like get me going and connect me with life, which is what the gate of stimulation is about, and help me learn more about life and really get deeper into it. Instead of that, I'll be distracted from all of that because I will feel so limited that I'm just like, I can't do it. I need to go watch a crap ton of TV. I need to go eat some trail mix. I need to go do literally anything but deal with this feeling of being limited. But if you see that it comes down to the earth gate there. Like if you can deal, and this, by the way, is not exactly how he talks about it in Gene Keys. This is really more of a human design perspective. But if you can work with that unconscious earth gate, and you're like, you know what, maybe right now isn't a time that I need to move forward. Maybe if I'm feeling this way and I'm feeling super limited, I can trust that if I need to blast through, that will come through me. And it's when that happens that I'll see the growth and the innovation and the change in my life that I need to see. And until then, I don't need to look like and feel like I'm moving and shaking all the time. So when I do that, then my unconscious sun can shine. And that gate of stimulation, it can keep me healthier because the things that I'm looking at in life, the things that I'm interacting with, instead of distracting me, they're going to enrich me. And I will feel very fulfilled and I will feel very healthy. But anyway, that's it from me. I would love to hear what your Earth gate combos on both sides of your chart, both conscious and unconscious, are. And by the way, if you'd like to learn more about your gates and channels, we talk about this in depth in the Gates and Channels course. It's a deep dive course. We go over planetary placement and just a ton of other stuff. You get really in-depth descriptions for all the gates and channels. And if you'd rather just have like an easy breezy first approach to the gates and channels, I also have a mini guide for like $22. It's actually the most popular thing that I sell on my website. So you can grab both of those down below. I'll have links in the description. But anyway, that's it from me. You rock, and I will talk to you next time.